Oh, right. Week 3, day 3. This is the heavy day. And I'll be honest, this is not the best training day. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about pacing throughout the training block. Pacing refers to your progression, your rates of progression specifically throughout a training block. A training block can be anywhere from 3 to 12 weeks, depending on how your training is structured. And this is not a conversation about periodization or anything like that. This is the rate of progression throughout a block. And so I know, generally speaking, what rates I progress best at. And that's usually a very, very low starting point with moderate-sized jumps from week to week and not accumulating too much fatigue. This block I did kind of the opposite. So this is my top single here at 187. This is 7.5 kilos down from last week, and it felt pretty hard. That was my second try at it, actually, and the first try was a bit worse than that. It didn't look super hard, but I just knew it was not feeling great this day. So usually I start off really easy. If we put it into RPE terms, I would do a week 1 single at like 5.5, week 2 6.5, week 3 7, 7.5, and week 4 would be like 8.5 and or full send, depending on how I'm feeling or what the plan is. This training block, from the beginning, my coach wrote RP 8 from the start. So I was like, you know what, let's roll with it. I have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen, but let's do it anyway. And I have done this type of progression quite a lot in the past as well, so I knew what to expect. Week 1 started off really well. Week 2 went decent. And week 3 is usually where I hit that wall. I started feeling a lot of accumulating fatigue during this week, and I hit a wall. And it just doesn't go very well. Plus, I had that big high bar set of 5 on Monday. This is on Thursday. That might have played a role here too. Bench was similar. It wasn't quite as good. Last week on this day, I benched 130. This week, I only benched 125. It did move great. It had an okay pause, but it just wasn't quite as good as last week. Back offs moved really well. I lowered the weight here compared to last week and just tried to get some good reps with some decent pauses. And deadlifts were a lot of the same as well. I pulled the same top single that I did last week, and it definitely looked better than it felt, but I knew there wasn't really much left in the tank if I wanted to go up. So my course of action was essentially just chill here at 240, do my back offs, which I actually went up on my back offs. I did both sets here at 220, which is up from last week, and they weren't fast, they weren't easy, but it also didn't kill me. So this progression through the block and the rate you progress can be a really, really big deal. It can make a really big difference as to whether or not you showcase a good performance at the end of a block. This isn't necessarily about building strength, but more so about how do we best showcase that strength. And that's something that kind of gets overlooked with a lot of people who are getting into powerlifting. Everyone wants to get the strongest, but there's a lot more nuances when it comes to showcasing strength. And this goes into peaking for a competition. And it's not just about get strong and then rep. That's the basics of it, and that's super important. But once the lifter is, deeper into the intermediate side, and then especially getting towards advanced, showcasing that strength does become a lot more difficult, and you have to put a lot more intention towards how do we best progress and how do we best set up training to be able to showcase how strong you are and not just continually build. Because honestly, building strength is kind of the easy part, but getting the stars to align on everything is the hard part. Well, this kind of went into day 4. I did chill on this day a little bit as well. The SSP pause squats, I went down about 10 kilos, or tempo squats, I meant, just because I knew I wanted to save some energy for the following week. 3 count pause bench actually felt a little bit better. I feel like I had some better pauses than I did in the previous weeks, and it moved a little bit faster. RDLs here still are feeling really good as well, and pretty excited to progress on these. I think it's been going really well, and hitting some volume PRs. I did 2 sets of 6 at 365 pounds here. I would really like to get a 405 RDL for reps, at least 6. So next week at the end of the block, I might just AMRAP 405 for the fun of it. I'm pretty confident I could do 6 already, but if I could do 8 or 10, that would be pretty cool. accessories on this day were some cable rows, as you're seeing here, some single leg dumbbell RDLs, and then Thursday, the heavy day, I did not do accessories. I was supposed to do some bell squat and some pull-ups, and mentally and physically, I was just fried. So, just didn't quite happen. I decided to save the energy and go home instead. I did make up for that a little bit on this day by doing some cable pullovers for a little bit of lat work. So you'll see that here. I did not make it to leg work. Kind of just wanted to give my legs a bit of a break. Since I do hike 3 days a week as well outside the gym. And even though I'm accustomed to that, I knew I was just pretty tired and it wasn't quite worth building up the extra fatigue.